Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are officially starting a review of content right now. Every person needs to have their notebook out and ready to go. With that being said, it is about self-awareness of where you are. If you have your documents, that'll be very helpful. Today I'm doing Constitution. Ethan. I'll post it at some point. It's clearly not a big deal this week. So, ladies and gentlemen, now you need to have self-awareness of where you are. If you think you are a 2 or 3, you better be taking notes, heavily taking notes. If you think you are a 4 or 5, you should be looking at your notes and making additions. No one in this room should just be hanging out, sitting back, because no one is in that good of a spot. Is everyone clear? There's something every person needs to work on. With that being said, my review is not linear. It is connective. It is all about the connections between vocab terms and concepts. So I'm going to go off on a tangent. We're going to talk about all the connections that derive to it because that is what this class is about, the connections. So make sure you are doing what you need to do. I am going to be forcing you to talk to me and give me the answers in which I need. Is everyone clear of the expectations? This is what review will look like. Next Thursday, you have a test, 35 questions. It'll be in a different look because your questions come in sets on the AP exam, so you will be tested in question sets because I have more opportunity and more content to cover. So the test will look a little bit different because it'll look more like your AP exam rather than your weekly tests, which are smaller sections. So, here we go. All right, who is the father of the Constitution? Jake? Give me an answer. It can be wrong. I'm fine with wrong answers. Wrong answers means you're at least thinking and you're trying, and I'm totally fine with that. Having no answer is something I have no tolerance for because that means you're not thinking. Jake, what do you got? It is not Thomas Jefferson. Britt?
James Madison.
James Madison is the father of your Constitution. When we say that James Madison is the father of the Constitution, that means what, Sophia? There you go. The most of the actual writing of the Constitution is done by James Madison. Who is the number 2 man writing for the Constitution? Desmond? Hamilton and Madison are going to be the 2 spearheads of the Constitution. Jimmy, put your phone away. What else do they work together on, Jimmy? And this is why. Absolutely not. Nick. The Federalist Papers. They also write the Federalist Papers together. Brendan, what is the Federalist Papers? What is the point of them? Yeah, sort of, but what's the point of it? What's the main goal of the Federalists? It's to persuade, yes. The Federalist Papers are to persuade. There's 87 of them. Most of them are written by Madison and Hamilton. Okay? The Federalist Papers are there to persuade. There are 2 groups of people in the world. Who are the 2 groups that we were talking about at the beginning? Grant, give me one.
Federalists.
The Federalists. And what do the Federalists believe? Ford.
No bill of rights in the Constitution.
Whoa, simplify. What is the goal of Federalists?
To get a Constitution.
Because what? What's Constitution?
Like the government of the nation.
You're missing a major point. Nick. Or a line. You think it's a line? Emerson, what is it? The Federalists believe in what? A federal government, but a strong what, Jake? A strong centralized government. Write it down. They believe in a strong central government. Who is the other group in this, Lucas?
Anti-feds.
And what do anti-feds believe? What?
Weak central.
They don't believe in a weak central government.
Like,
they believe in
no.
what? You don't believe in
Yeah.
something weak. You believe
Yeah.
in something else.
They didn't like the Bill of Rights either.
No, they wanted the Bill of Rights.
Oh, shoot.
What did Federalists, by the way, that's the first answer wrong. Coming back to you. What do you got? Jack, what do the anti-federalists believe? What's the opposite of a strong central government? Don't tell me a weak central government because that's not framing. down. Who is the most famous anti-federalist? He's in your papers. Lucas.
That's Patrick Henry.
No.
Oh wait, no.
Who is it, Britt?
Benjamin Franklin.
No.
Jefferson.
Starts with a B, but it's not someone you know. It's a pseudonym. It's a pseudonym. He's one of yours. Desmond. Brutus is your most famous of your federalists. Okay? So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you right now, this is the ownership that you have to have and the command of your content you have to have if you're going to pass. Some of you are just flippantly lying there waiting for this information to be poured. That time is over. Take ownership. Brutus is your most famous of the anti-federalists. Okay? Who is the most famous of the Federalists? We've already covered both of them in class. Jordan, who are they?
James Madison.
There you go. So, let's talk. So, the anti-federalists, okay? And the federalists. Why does the Constitution need to be created? Why does the Constitution need to be created, Selena?
Because they cannot raise taxes.
Okay, they can't raise federal taxes. What is the document that is in place that fails that requires a constitutional convention? Brooklyn. Articles of Confederation. What is the Articles of Confederation? Brennan. Okay, why does it fail? Okay, you're not wrong. Hear me, you're not wrong. But there's a specific event that causes it to crash and burn. Do you know what the event is? Jimmy.
The event is Shays Rebellion.
Shays Rebellion. What is Shays Rebellion?
Like a protest,
Mhm.
and then like they couldn't stop it.
The one state could not stop it because it was too big for that one state to control. So what is the problem?
Like central military.
There you go. That's the problem with Shays Rebellion. It's a rebellion. It's a bunch of farmers pissed off. They go and they go to this courthouse and they start storming it and trying to like burn the shit down. And the state government could not control it. So what happens is because it's a bunch of loosely organized states, they all had to go to Congress to discuss what to do. Is that very effective? No. So they realized that if there was another protest just a little bit bigger, it could have brought down the whole thing. So that's why the Articles of Confederation failed. Shays Rebellion. Okay. So then we're going to have the creation of the Constitution. The creation of the Constitution is going to be ratified in what year, Ian?
1776.
No. Constitution. That's Declaration. What do you got, Jack? 1787 is when we started the process, for sure. 1787 is when we got the ratification of the Constitution. We are going to be in Constitutional Convention for about a year and a half. Where is the Constitutional Convention, Britt?
In Philadelphia.
There you go. It's held in Philadelphia and is going to be ratified in 1787. What does the term ratified mean, Lucas? No, it does not mean to remove.
So get rid of it, right?
No, it absolutely does not. Ford, what does ratified mean?
To turn a document into power, like to make it activate.
There you go, to make it actually legit. That's two, by the way. I'll be back. So, when we're talking about ratified, that means it's now signed into law. It is the law of the land. The Constitution will be ratified in 1787. Now, in order to get the Constitution ratified, they make three major compromises. What is one of those compromises, Sophia?
3/5 compromise.
3/5 compromise. And what is a 3/5 compromise, Sophia?
It's basically now, I think it's, well, 3/5 of the slave population are now up for taxation and representation.
Okay, why? What was the real reason? Simplify the reason. Obviously, there's tons of things going on here. Why? Why is it needed? Why is it wanted, not needed?
Southern states want slaves to be represented, and northern states don't want that. They want them to be taxed.
There you go. Okay. 3/5 compromise is between the North and the South. You need to know that. The 3/5 compromise. The South wanted the slaves to count for population, but not count for voters. Why? Why, Desmond? It would give them too much power because there's a ton more slaves than there are white people in the South. So, 3/5 compromise is to allow the slaves to count in the House of Representatives towards the population count. Why does the North have to kowtow to the South? Think of the power dynamic in 1787. Who has the most power, Ian? Why? They have the plantations, they're the economic heartbeat of America at that point. Keep in mind, in about 10 years, where's that power going to shift to? The north, with the Industrial Revolution fully kicking off. Okay, so with that being said, the 3/5 compromise is between the north and the south. It is allowing the slaves to count to give them bigger numbers in the House of Representatives, but it also excludes what word? What word is particularly left out of the Constitution? Ford.
Slave.
Slave. Why is it not mentioned? Because it's too?
Oh, it's hypocritical, right?
It's hypocritical. It's just too controversial. So the 3/5 compromise, in order to make it, this whole thing get signed and ratified, they just stay away from the slave issue. They stay away from it because there's people who are ardent opposers, there's people who are ardent supporters, and the whole country would go up in flames, so they just ignore it. Okay, is that going to be a problem later?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. Is it still a lingering problem we have here in the United States today? Yeah. Okay, here we go. So, we have the first compromise, which is the 3/5 compromise. What is the second compromise that is found in the House? It is between big states and little states. What is that compromise, Jimmy? I don't care necessarily about that. Compromise is going to be later on. Desmond.
That the Senate has two, and for every state, House of Representatives is proportional.
Oh, I like it. Here we go. It is between big states and little states. The High House, the Senate. How many people are in the Senate, Jordan?
50. Oh, wait, no.
100 people are in there because how many come from each state?
2.
2 people from each state. We have 50 states, so we have 100 people in the Senate. It is equal power in the High House. Write it down, Lucas. It is equal power in the High House. So who has equal representation, Emerson? Little states. The House of Representatives is managed by what, Jack?
So the House of
Representatives. How do they fill it? It's based on what? Population. So who has the benefit here? Big states or little states? Big states. So big states get more votes, more seats in the House of Representatives. How many seats are in the House of Representatives, Jake? 435. So the bigger states are going to benefit in the House of Representatives, while there's equality or the small states benefit in your upper house. Okay, that is your second compromise. The third compromise is, Desmond? The Bill of Rights. That is between what 2 groups, Desmond? There you go. Anti-Federalists and Federalists. Why would anti-Federalists want a Bill of Rights, Nick? Yes, because what is the biggest fear of an anti-federalist? Okay, authoritarian government or the central government literally destroying their independent controls, correct? So, by promising them a Bill of Rights, it brings the anti-federalists to the table and gets things done. Those are the 3 major compromises. Of course, who wins the Bill of Rights? The anti-federalists, and that's why we have it. Here we go. Constitution, Article 1. By the way, if you have your Constitution worksheet that you should have, and if you do not have these documents that I taught you, you need to have them in class for the next 2 weeks while I'm covering for Gov. Open up your stuff, take out your Constitution. In the back of it, if someone has it, I'm going to steal it for a sec. In your review packet, you also have a little blurb about the Constitution that will help. Ian, can I see that? Well, this is what it looks like. This is what the document looks like. No, come in the front corner. Oh my God, you should have a staple one. Okay, this is what it looks like. It has the whole thing. But the important part that I generally care about is that it breaks it all down. Ladies and gentlemen, we worked hard all year. All year. We did quality work all year, which is something you should rely on. If we did our job, we should be able to rely on our stuff. And we did a good job, so we're going to use our stuff to help us benefit. We don't need to relearn everything. We've already done the work. We need to be refreshed. Yes? So here we go. Article 1 of the Constitution is based on what, Mr. Clark?
It
It creates the legislature. Okay, it creates the legislator, it creates the Senate, and it creates the House of Representatives. We just went through all those proportions, so I'm not going to go through it again. However, with the legislature and the House of Representatives, which is based off population, what else is created in Article 1? That happens every 10 years. Britt.
The census.
The census. And what is the point of the census?
To like redistrict, or not redistrict, like repopulate like the house.
Yeah, it's to do what, Britt?
Redistrict.
Count, dude.
Count, yeah.
It's the count, and those counts will go in to see where the populations have shifted and those numbers have changed. Okay? So, in Article 1, you need to know that it is about the creation of the House, the Senate. It is about creating those compromises between upper house, lower house. It is also all about the census. Article 2 is what, Brooklyn? The executive branch. It is all about the executive branch. Here we go. In the executive branch, how many people, what the new position is created, Grant? What new position is created in the executive branch? The presidency, okay? Now, what is the very famous Hamilton Federalist paper that is all about the executive? Luke. Isn't it 78? I think it's 78.
Is that the one about energy?
It is about energy. Is
All
it
about
78?
energy. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Write it down. Federalist.
No, 70.
Is it 70?
Yeah.
Okay. Federalist 70. What you need to know. Okay? I hope that you see. Do you see how we're not doing this all linear? We're talking about the Constitution, but now we're pulling it to the Federalist Papers. We're going to pull it to something else here in a second. This is how you have to think about going into this AP exam. It's not just a linear history, it's about the connections between content. What is the energy that Hamilton is discussing in Federalist 70, Ford?
The speed of decision making when it's only one person in power.
Okay, so that's what he's arguing in the Federalist Papers. Why is that different from what was happening in the Articles of Confederation?
The Articles of Confederation, like all 13 states had to get together to make decisions.
There you
It
go.
was
So it was
slow.
a really, really slow process. There was also talks about having 5 presidents. What a nightmare. And he argues for 1. What is the whole point of arguing for 1, Luke?
Because like the UK like fake monarchies and like too much power.
Okay, so they wanted multiple. Hamilton's going to argue for 1 because what is the biggest fear about having an executive? Yeah, they were fearful of making a king. Write that down. Federalists were really concerned about the executive branch making a king. They just got out of it, got away from a king. They didn't want to appoint a new one. What do you got, Desmond?
I was wondering if Article 2 creates the vice president.
It does, it does. I'm not going into the powers right now because that's really what I'm going to hit on Monday. Does that make sense? We're going to talk about the executive branch and the legislative branch, and we'll talk about the checks and powers and stuff. Now I'm just trying to get like a structural foundation of it. Okay, Article 2 is all about the executive branch. Federalist 70 is an important one you have to tie to it. You also should put a star. This is the one place the Constitution has been expanded the most. Why has it been expanded the most? Lucas just hit on it. Why has it been expanded the most, Mr. Clark? Because does the Constitution give the executive lots of power or little power?
Lots of power. Like,
Does the Constitution give the executive lots of power or very little power?
Lots of it.
Central government.
Yeah, Brennan. Why does the Constitution give the president off the cuff very little power? So it doesn't turn into a king, and that's why they've added more power, which is why our president today is very powerful, yes? Because this is one part of the Constitution that has been expanded pretty substantially, okay? So, executive branch, let's try that again. Article 2 is the executive branch. You need to know Federalist 70. You need to know it's the furthest, most expanded portion of the Constitution. You also need to know what else is created inside this in order to elect our president. What do we use, Sophia?
Electoral college.
The Electoral College is created in Article 2. And what is the Electoral College? Sophia?
It's basically like a group of electors that elects the president.
Okay, why did they have that if we're letting people vote?
Because it's a representative process.
Ah, why do we have it, Desmond?
Because they didn't trust the common people.
Yeah! Okay, so the United States is the first people to allow people to vote really since Greece on a large scale. So, they believed in the American people because they wanted to give them the power, but they needed to have a check on the American people in case they wanted to do something stupid like elect a pig as president or governor or something like that, which Americans have done, by the way. We have elected pigs and a goat.
No, we didn't.
Yes, we have, in local governments.
Oh, I think that was.
No, in local governments, they do it all the time. Yeah. They have a Labrador as a mayor in Colorado or something. Yeah.
Wait, right?
It's kind of cool. I don't know right now, but I know it's been done. So Americans, people are, we like our jokes. So the Electoral College is there as a safety valve for calmer heads to prevail, and it is created in the Article 2. Article 3 is about what, Jordan? The judicial branch. Okay, so the judicial branch was the creation of the Supreme Court. True or false? You got 50-50 shot. Does the Constitution create judicial review? True or false? Jake? False. False. What Supreme Court case creates judicial review? Jimmy? Marbury versus Madison. You better be writing some of this down. What is the court case Marbury versus Madison that creates judicial review? What is judicial review, Emerson?
It's like a check.
It is a check, and you need to know that judicial review is a check. It's a check on who? What branch? You know it's a check, but you don't know what it.
What's a check on
What branch? There's 3.
legislative?
Yeah, it's a check on the legislative branch by who?
The judiciary?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're making it harder. Yes, it's perfect. Perfect. Okay, it is a check on the legislative branch by the judicial. But what is a judicial review, Brennan? What is it? Keep it simple, stupid. No. What do you got?
Doesn't determine the law's constitution.
It determines if a law is constitutional. If a law passed by Congress is constitutional or not. It is created by Marbury versus Madison, and it keeps the idea of the Constitution alive, the checks and balances. So, let's get to who's the dude who came up with the idea of 3 branches of government? Who's the dude behind it, Nick? Montesquieu. You need to know that Montesquieu came up with the idea of 3 branches of government, and his work and his vision is primarily found in what American document, Nick? The Constitution. Okay, what is another Enlightenment thinker who has had a huge impact on the American government structure? Ford. John Locke. Write it down. What is the name of his belief, Lucas?
Natural rights.
And what are natural rights?
Life, liberty, property, but they changed that, right?
Jefferson changed it.
Yeah.
Life, liberty, and property. Where do we see his work best demonstrated?
No.
No. Bill of Rights is not, those are individual bills. Desmond.
Independence.
Yep.
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah.
Declaration of Independence, it literally starts with it. And then you also do see a lot of him in the Constitution. You can't say Bill of Rights because he's in the Constitution as well. Okay, you need to know that Locke is one of the most influential. Who is another major influential thinker on the from the Enlightenment? Jimmy?
John Payne.
No, but he's really great. He's really wonderful. He writes the pamphlet that gets everyone all riled up to go off to war. Desmond?
Adam Smith.
Adam Smith? No, he's capitalism.
No, but it was enlightenment, wasn't it?
Not really. When do not group Adam Smith into enlightenment. He's kind of like the antithesis of like, screw over the people, make as much money as you can.
Really?
Yeah, that's what capitalism is like at its cutthroat. Here we go. Voltaire, write it down. Voltaire, what is he famous for? My AP World kids better know this. Voltaire too. And he's all about freedom of speech. We think it's so important here in the United States. We made it number 1. He's all about freedom of speech, and he's all about the protection of the ability to criticize the government. Is that something we like? Yes. I mean, think about today, of all days. Whew. What a wild day. In case you didn't hear, I don't know how you couldn't know, Donald Trump got indicted yesterday, like 5:30 at night. He's not officially, because they haven't served him yet. He'll be officially served on Tuesday. He'll report to New York, and he's going to go to New York himself and turn himself in. Why? Everyone's got thoughts, yes? People are like, yay! People are like, oh my god, government overstep, all that stuff. The fact that you can say whatever you want about the U.S. government today is because of Voltaire. There you go. Just what. Anyway, Voltaire, he's going to lead to the inspiration of what will eventually become the Bill of Rights. Pretty big deal to us Americans. Okay, and finally, who's the biggest, most influential dude? Starts with an R. Desmond. Rousseau. And what does Rousseau believe, Desmond? Oh no! It is literally the second line of the Declaration. What is it, Britt?
Separation of powers.
No, that's Montesquieu.
I'll just say
No, it's more like a God thing, right? That sounds more of a Jesus thing, right? Roussesseau. What do you got,
So
Sophie?
wild deaths, but like the union of the state.
No. Consent of the governed. What is consent of the governed? What is consent of the governed, Sophia?
That people allow the government to govern.
Yes, the government wouldn't exist unless the people allowed it to exist. That's what Rousseau believes. It is found in 3 documents, friends. What are those 3 documents, Jordan?
The Constitution.
Yes.
Bill of Rights.
Well, the Constitution has the Bill of Rights, so the Bill of Rights is not it. Constitution. What are the other documents? Am I doing right? One was maybe written in 1776. Selena, help me. Articles of Confederation, it's in 2. Consent of the governed is in the Declaration, it's in the Articles of Confederation. What's the other big document, Jimmy? We already talked about the Constitution. Jordan?
Declaration of
The Declaration of Independence. Those are the 3. Those are the 3. Did I? See, I was even trying to help you. See? Okay. Consent of the governed is the most influential. It is the foundation of everything else. Because if the people don't allow it to occur, then it can't occur. And the government is a government made of the people. So that's why it is the foundational. But you see more of Locke's ideas absolutely implemented. So the Supreme Court is all about checks and balances. That's how we got to Montesquieu, and that's how we got to our Enlightenment thinkers. Okay. When we talk about the Supreme Court, we have a Federalist 78 refers to what about the Supreme Court, Ian? One of our primary sources directly talked about the Supreme Court. What was that Supreme Court? What was it about? The idea of what? What is it, Ford? It's very controversial even to this day.
Justices need life appointment.
There you go. The justices and their life appointment. Hamilton, who writes Federalist 78, says that they should have it. Why does Hamilton believe the justices should have a life appointment? Ford.
So that they're life appointed, they're not going to sway by political.
Yes, it keeps them out of the political dirt, ladies and gentlemen. Hamilton thinks they'll be able to focus on the job at hand and not trying to stay in that position if it's a life appointment. Obviously, who gets what he wants? Hamilton, we have life appointments, but it's one of those things that might change even in your generation because there's a lot of complaints about it. Who knows? All right, so Article 1 is legislative. Article 2 is executive. Article 3 is your Supreme Court. What is Article 4? What is your Article 4? Sophia?
What's the relationship between the
It is states' rights, ladies and gentlemen. States' rights. Why would the Declaration of Independence, nope. Why would the Constitution have a whole section on states' rights? Why, Nick? What are they trying to attract? They want anti-federalists. And what are anti-federalists the most concerned about? There you go. So they include states' rights inside of the Constitution to explicitly label, hey, guys, anti-federalists, these are all the things that you have that the government, the federal government cannot touch in order to attract the anti-federalists into signing. Article 5 is what? Sophia, do you have your Constitution thing out? What is Article 5? Oh, it's amendments. Just double check it. I'm 99% sure it's amendments. Is it amendments, Mr. Clark?
How to change the Constitution.
There you go. Article 5 is your amendment. How to pass an amendment. Keep in mind, you have to get it through a majority of the states, and then it has to pass through a majority of Congress. That's how you get an amendment. How many amendments do we currently have, Grant?
27.
We have 27. Yes, we do. We have 27. The first 10 are called what, Ethan?
The Bill of Rights.
The Bill of Rights. We passed the Bill of Rights to make who happy, Lucas? The anti-federalist. Number 1 is what, Brooklyn? It's literally number 1. I'm not asking you for the random number 8. I'm asking you for number 1.
First Amendment?
Yeah. What is it? Okay, hi. Listen to me very clearly. Freedom of speech, dude.
Oh
my God. Please listen to me very carefully. You are taking APGov. We are not taking AP Constitutional Law. Is everyone clear on that? Because if it was AP Constitutional Law, Samantha Bennett will not be your fearless leader. Hot damn. Okay, let me be clear about that. I am in no way asking you to memorize the entire Constitution. As you can see, we're talking about generalities here, yes? Yeah, you should know the articles are in general. However, when you get to the Bill of Rights, Brooklyn, you should know some of them. I'm not expecting you to know all 27. Not a shot in hell do I know all 27 of them. 1 through 10, I get a little dicey on them if we're being honest. So, you are in no way expected to memorize the entire Constitution, but you should know in general. But everyone should know the first 2.
My brain doesn't work anymore. It's like I'm like
The first one is freedom of speech. You definitely need to know that. Second one, in the week that we are in, everyone should know. Jake? Right to bear arms. Number 3 is?
Quartering of soldiers.
Quartering of soldiers. You should know the first 3. Okay, we start getting into courts. Can I get, what's number 4? Does anyone know 4? Sophia?
It's like search and seizures.
Search and seizures. 5.
No self-conviction.
No self-convictions. You can say no. 5th. Yeah, we plead 5th. Hello, idiot. 6. Sophia?
Right to speak and vote.
Yeah, 7. Sophia?
Right to
Are you in
trial.
constitutional law?
No, right to trial and jury.
Okay, sure.
We focused a lot on them in 7th grade.
Oh, well, sounds pretty son you want. I don't know them after like 6. So, I don't know. I just literally said I don't know them. 6 is speedy trial, isn't it?
It's yeah. Or
Yeah.
I think 6 is right to an attorney as well.
Sure, sure. All you really need to know is the first 3, right, Brooklyn? What's number 1? Oh, shit, Brooklyn. Free speech, yes. Freedom of assembly, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. The freedom one is 1. Second is right to bear arms. 3 is quartering. Okay, so here we go. So, when we talk about Article 5, yes, that's the one we're in. It's all about your amendments, 27 amendments. You don't need to memorize them all, but just know most of your amendments are about changing the powers of the Constitution in order to A, more modernize it, or to kind of change it with changing times. That's really what it comes down to. And expanding what branch's power? The executive, because that's where it gets most power. Okay. Sixth Amendment is what, Sophia? Do you have the little sheet in front of you? Or Mr. Clark, do you have Article 6? No, article, not amendment.
Concerns U.S. law.
Okay, so all this is about, Article number 6 is about the federal government's power over states, aka declare war, make treaties, and one important clause. What is the big clause that is found in 6, Desmond? The what? There is an elastic clause, but I think it's in a different one. Nick? Supremacy clause is in 6. Supremacy clause that if there is something that the government, this federal government has power over, then it oversees. So if we have an orange tree problem here in the state of Florida, who is specifically in charge of that? DeSantis is, because he is our governor. But if there is an infestation of agriculture in Florida, Georgia, Alabama, who's now in charge? The federal government, or Biden and his cabinet is. Okay? So supremacy. If it's multiple states, it goes to the federal government. If it's one state, then it sticks with the state. Article 7, your final article of the Constitution, is how to get it ratified. What does the term ratified mean, Lucas?
That was the change.
No, dude, that's an amendment. To amend something is to change. What is it? This is how we started this, Lucas. What is it, Ford? What's ratification?
Put into action.
Oh, you were the one who gave it to me before, too. We're literally reliving this. This is Groundhog Day here, friend.
Just watched it.
What?
I just watched that movie.
It's a great
I
movie.
know. Like last time. So
Yes, but learn from it. So what is ratification here,
put it
Lucas?
into action.
Putting a law, making it the law of the land. Ratification. Okay, so how do they get the Constitution ratified, Britt?
It's by, they have to vote on it.
Who is they?
I think it's like 3/4 states, right?
So how many is that? It's
It's
9 out of B?
12.
No, it's 13.
They're the same.
It's not the same thing. It's either 12 or 13. There's 13 states. 9 of them had to ratify it. Do they ratify? Yes, because of the compromises that we discussed before. Rhode Island or something? Georgia has a lot of problems with it. But so we've got a lot. It's a penal colony. They have very close ties with England. Okay, here we go. So the Constitution, you have 7 articles. You should know the big things. You don't need to memorize all the details that come through. Okay, we talked about our Enlightenment thinkers and the foundational documents. Articles of Confederation and why it failed in comparison to. The biggest difference between the Articles of Confederation and the Constitution is what, Emerson?
Well, the Articles of Confederation came before and caused a lot of problems, so they made a constitution.
Why does it have a lot of problems,
Because,
Emerson?
it didn't set guidelines really
Nope,
like
help her out.
the states.
Nope, help her out. Why does the Articles of Confederation fail, Grant?
Stage one, they didn't have like fast decision making and stuff like that.
Because it had
Central government.
had no central government in order to respond quickly. It also had no way to raise federal taxes, which could not stabilize the Congress, which is another component we did not discuss. Okay, so your foundational documents that you have to know is Declaration of Independence. What day, month, and year was it signed, Brennan? Day, month, year. Or month, day, year. It is literally like the only day that you would know when you were like in 3rd grade, dude.
It's a party day.
Oh shit, dude. Ethan! July 4th, 1776.
I was gonna say
which is it? 1776, July 4th is the official day of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, but you and I both know it was actually July 1st, but we celebrate on the 4th, so here we are. What does the Declaration of Independence do, Mr. Clark?
Breaks away from Britain.
Breaks away from Britain using whose ideas to justify? Who's the major dude?
Jefferson.
Well, Jefferson is the major writer, and you do need to know that. Jefferson is the major writer of the Declaration. Write that down. Who's the number 2 writer for talking writers? Lucas.
Oh wait, for declaration?
Yes.
Wow.
No.
Wait, no,
Locke
but-
is the major Enlightenment
Yeah,
thinker
okay.
behind it, but who's the major writer? Jefferson? Who's his bestie?
Not Hamilton, they hated each other.
Jefferson and Hamilton hate each other. Come on, we've all seen Hamilton.
Yeah.
Let's go. Madison is
Yeah.
number 2, and who is your 3rd author? He's an editor who will read through to make sure the people will appreciate it. Jake. Ben Franklin is your number 3. What is the point of the Declaration? Mr. Clark told us it was to break away from England. It's the official start of the war. It is also
Part of the following announcement. On Tuesday, April 4th, between 3:25 and 3:55, come to the sign your.
Jefferson, Madison, and then Ben Franklin comes in at the
Or
end.
relay for.
It is all about John Locke. John Locke is the whole thing that it comes down to. Your second major document is the Articles of Confederation. It is weak because there's no central government. You are going to know that it fails because of Shays' Rebellion, and it goes from what years? 1781 to 1787, because the Constitution starts in 1787. Constitution is ratified in 1787. Okay, who are the 2 major writers? We've already covered this, you shouldn't have to write it down, because who are the 2 major writers, Brennan? No. Jefferson's in France the whole time. Madison and Hamilton are your 2 major framers of the Constitution. All right, guys. How are we feeling? On your whiteboards, on your desk, tell me what these acronyms are.
I know the first.
Okay, well then give me the other one. You are responsible for knowing all these acronyms, Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy. This is the acronyms. That's what you're doing now. We're still going. Thank you, kindly. So, you should be able to tell me what these acronyms are. Brooklyn, what's the matter?
What?
You look confused. What's the
I
matter?
don't get it.
You should know more than just 2 of them. This is for the entire course of APGov, not just for what I just told you. Britt, what is SCOTUS?
Supreme Court of the United States.
There you go. Supreme Court of the United States. What is POTUS? What is it, Jordan? President of the United States. CBO is Congressional Budget Office. You're responsible. I would take a photo of this before you leave. You are supposed to know these. They are expecting you to know what these acronyms are. Congressional Budget Office, General Accounting Office, and Office of Management are all in Congress. Environmental Protection Agency is part of the Cabinet. Federal Reserve Board is what is managing our economy right now. It's run currently by Janet Yellen, who is both very controversial right now. You have the ABA, which is the Americans with Disabilities Act, and then you have PAC, Political Action Committee, which is why Trump's in problem in the first place. It is a funding thing. He used PAC money to pay off. That's right.
Wasn't it like donations?
Yes, but you can't just do whatever you want with donations. Because there's things you can and cannot do with it. Now they're about to hash it out in court here,